Our next film is Rope, Hitchcock's attempt to film a movie so that it appears as if it is one long, unbroken shot. No cuts, no editing. Now, of course, this was impossible to do in 1948. The biggest can of film for the cameras then was 10 minutes, and so what Hitchcock does in Rope is let the action play for about 10 minutes, and then as the film is about to run out in his camera, the camera moves into focus on the back of a suit coat of one of the actors. He then reloaded his camera, new film, and filming began on the same suit coat, and the camera pulls away to start the story again. The story of Rope is a psychological thriller based in part on the famous Leopold and Loeb thrill murder case with two college boys committing the murder of one of their classmates just for the thrill of it. They stash the body in a chest in the living room of their apartment where they are hosting a cocktail party for the dead student's parents and fiancé. And James Stewart plays a professor who suspects their nervousness has something to do with the missing student who was choked to death with a piece of rope.
You're more than usually allergic to the truth tonight, Philip. That's the second time you haven't told me.
Thanks. When was the first?
When you said you'd never strangle a chicken.
You're confused. Brandon dreamt that up for the sake of a very unfunny joke.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't, Philip. And if you'll think back very carefully, you'll realize that I know he didn't. About a year ago, I was up at the farm, you remember? One morning I saw you display your handiwork. You're quite a good chicken strangler, as I recall.
Well, I just meant that Brandon's story wasn't true. I didn't mean I hadn't killed any chickens.
That's what you said.
Well, I didn't think it was a suitable topic of conversation while we were eating.
You could have said that.
All right, I didn't.
We're not eating now, Philip. What'd you lie to me for?
Because I don't like to talk about...
About what?
I
Strangling
can't play with that thing.
I want you to have them very much.
It's extremely generous of you, Brandon. I don't know.
Please, I know you appreciate first editions far more than I, Mr. Kentley.
It's really very nice of you, Brandon.
What's wrong?
You and Philip must come to dinner very
What's
soon.
wrong
I'll
now,
get David
Philip?
to fix the
Don't you
day.
want Mr. Kentley to have the books?
No. I mean, I don't care if he has them. I just...
What? What?
I just think it's a clumsy way of tying them up, that's all.
Now, the acting in Rope, you've got to admit, is stilted and overdone and wildly frantic there. It sort of reminded me of that anti-marijuana film, Reefer Madness, remember? Play faster, play faster. And the gimmick about the unbroken shot, well, it's gimmicky every time we get a close-up on a suit coat. You know, what's his obsession there? But there is a certain tension here, and we appreciate that Hitchcock was trying to do something special with this film. His films often are so spellbinding, literally binding us to the screen. And here in 1948, in Rope, we see Hitchcock declaring his desire to literally weld our eyes directly to the screen. No edits from him, no blinking from us. And there is a power in that attempt, and that's why even with all the bad acting, I sort of enjoyed Rope.
Now, you talk about the bad acting. It seems almost heretical to say that Jimmy Stewart was doing bad acting.
Yes.
This was the first time, by the way, that Stewart ever worked with Hitchcock, and Hitchcock liked him so much that he used him as his alter ego in Rear Window, Vertigo, Man Who Knew Too Much, and so forth. But what some of the actors said about this film was that the reason the acting seemed so strained is that everything depended upon them making no mistakes for 10 minutes. Everybody had to be right. The actors had to be right. The technicians are hauling sets out of the way. The lights are moving around. The camera's moving around. If one person blows one line, they have to start all over again. It costs thousands of dollars, and so they just absolutely could not relax.
At the same time, when I watched these guys trying to hide their crime, the thrill of crime, which is certainly a theme in Hitchcock, and he's always getting the audience in on it, and we recognize our own sense of thrill with crime, that is communicated in this picture, so I think it's a partial success.
It's an interesting film. I was glad I saw it. Here's a trivia question for you. Hitchcock never won an Academy Award for directing or for Best Picture. The question is, did he ever win an Academy Award for Best Song? And we'll have the answer right after this. Until I saw The Man Who Knew Too Much, I'd totally forgotten that Doris Day sings in it. And since it's the only musical number that Alfred Hitchcock ever directed and it won an Academy Award, we thought we'd show you a little bit of it.
Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be.
That wasn't real interesting, was it? You know, maybe if she were being stabbed while she was singing, he would have directed that scene better.
His heart was not in it.
Not at all. To sum up, and I hope everyone sees these pictures again, because what it did for me was remind me how sloppily made most movies are today by comparison, how impersonal, how passionless most movies are. This reminds us of the standard of what movies can be.
And what I get from a Hitchcock film, and I get it from only the greatest directors, is a real sense of somebody standing right there behind the camera, whose obsessions and whose passions and whose care is really focused in the image that he's shooting. It's really a strong kind of presence.
Right.
And that's all for the Master of Suspense.